Now that your connections are done, you want to put a nice heat shrink over each joint, and I'm sure I don't have to show you guys, this is pretty much just the same step as what we did for the ESCs. So go ahead and apply your heat shrink. Okay, so we're going to actually finish up the motors now that we've put the bullet connectors on, and what we're gonna need is a Dremel, your motors obviously, a small bag. You can use the one that the motors actually came in. Anything that is plastic would work and that you wouldn't mind poking a hole through. A ruler. Now let's get started. So what I found best was use my ruler and go up to 2.3 centimeters or 23 millimeters, and make a mark for that's where I'm going to cut. So I'm going to line this up, make sure it's perpendicular, and then I'm going to just mark it ever so lightly. Now again, I'm only going to show you this for one motor, but you pretty much repeat the same process for the other two. And what you do is you put this motor in a bag, and then you poke a hole through the bag. That way when you're cutting, the little bits won't fly into the motor. So go ahead and mark it up and put it through a bag, and we'll get cutting. Now for cutting, you really want to wear a pair of safety glasses, because the metal shards from the motor shaft is going to be flying everywhere and you want to be safe. So go ahead and put on your safety glasses, spin up your Dremel with the cutting tool to about 9. Alright, so as you can see, I have a cut shaft here, and here it is. Now repeat the same step for the other two motors. Now that your shafts are cut down to size, we're going to be putting the motor mounts onto the motor itself. And if you're using DT750s, this part is absolutely crucial. I cannot tell you how important it is to put Loctite on your motor mount, on the grub screws that go into your motor mount. And part of this is actually just learning by experience. I realized that without Loctite, I'd get motors falling out every 2 flights, and crashes, repairs, all that good stuff. So what you want to do is put Loctite on your grub screws. It's very important. So what I'm going to do is align my motor mount with my leads. I'm going to be mounting this with zip ties, so there's a specific orientation I'd like to get these in. And just to be sure, I'll just test this on my arm and make sure things are going to work. Proper alignment is very important, as you can tell in this build. So that's properly aligned. I'm just going to set it down so that nothing moves, and shake up my Loctite a little bit, and then apply 1 drop onto my grub screw. You don't need a lot, just a bit would be enough. And then I'm going to apply this. It's pretty self-explanatory. Now just do this for all 3 motors and we will proceed with the build. After you're done putting the motor mounts on your motor, we're on the home stretch and ready to finish up the build. Now, the servo needs to be cut so it would fit on the boom. And what we're going to do is take our Dremel and slice right through this little piece and sand it down a little bit. Now, what you're going to need is, of course, your Dremel and safety glasses. Remember, safety first. And optionally, you could have these ear muffs if you want to. It's not really necessary. But here we go. Now, as you can see right here, we're going to get a little bit of an edge, but that's fine because we can just go ahead and sand it down. Now, take some sanding paper and just finish up the sanding until you get a nice smooth step. When you're doing this though, watch out for your servo lead. You don't want to be sanding that, so make sure you're taking into account of that. Alright, so I have this, and to me it looks pretty good. Let me see if I could zoom in somehow. So your finished product should look something like this. There will still be a little bit of a step, but it's not that big of a deal. At this point, we actually have our components finally, and we can start mounting pieces onto our frame. First thing you probably want to do is just lay your ESC out, because that's like the nervous system, I guess you could say, if we compare the frame to an exoskeleton. Now, it's probably better if we place the frame on top of the ESCs, because you want your connector to go on the bottom. Now, this one I believe goes right here. This one goes there, this one goes there. So you just want to find a way to orderly mount these to your boom. It may take a while, so go ahead and do that. We'll meet up again after everything's laid out. So after some time mounting, I just put some zip ties on the ESCs, as you can see here, and here. On the bottom, I did so as well. You see here, just a zip tie here to keep all the wires together. So now I'm going to mount my yaw mechanism, and again, this can be done with just zip ties. You pretty much whip this around so you can see. You pretty much just take your yaw mechanism, feed the zip tie through the first holes, and line it up with the boom. Slip the zip tie through. Whoops. slip the zip tie through like so, and do the same thing to this side, this hole as well. Feed it through the top and then drop it back down. So you can see here I got 2 zip ties on the yaw mechanism. Hopefully this focuses. And what you do is just slip them through. And apparently I fail at doing that. And just hand tighten them as much as you can. And then I use this handy tool that tightens zip ties for me. Pretty much what happens is I put, okay, this is probably not gonna work. Pretty much what happens is I put my zip tie in the slot and I just pull it, and then it cuts it as well as tightens it for me. So go ahead and tie this down. A good tip I have for you guys is finish up the cuts with a nail clipper, as it makes your finishes round. So this is the finished product, and we're going to start mounting the motors onto the booms and yaw mechanism. So after playing around with zip ties a little bit, this is what I came up with. Hopefully you can reasonably see. So right here I just have a zip tie holding down the ESC, the wires running through and then coming up back to the motors. And it's pretty much the same for this side as well as the yaw mechanism. So after you've done this step, we can now attach the servo onto the tail. So what you're gonna need is maybe a piece of foam tape to prop this up. Alright, that's in shot. So you want to put the servo drive onto the horn, which you have made, and this should go in quite snugly. You'll probably notice that the servo is not completely on the boom, so what you're gonna do is take some double-sided foam and put it down on the bottom so that it's the same level as the servo horn. So I've got my double-sided tape here, and what we're gonna do is put this under the servo right here. I'm just gonna add a layer of double-sided tape to it. You can feel free to press down the servo lead a little bit and then just lay it right on top. Take your scissors and just cut it off where it's needed. So now I have a strip like that. I'm going to just attach it. Just going to attach it on like so. Right now I'm not going to zip tie this down yet because I'm going to check what it's like, and then after I get a feel for how solid this thing is, I could then go ahead and zip tie it. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with how this tail mechanism turned out. Now I'm going to just put some zip ties on here and put my extension on. extensions here, just put it on. Pretty much we're close to done. We're just putting components together now. So after some zip tying, I was able to end up with something that looks like this. Now as you can see here, all the wires are flush against the booms and all the motors are tied down. All we need to do is actually just add our own propellers and receiver, flight control, and we'd be ready to fly. At this point, you've pretty much constructed a tricopter if you've followed along with the build. And if you found this video useful, please give it a like, share it, and if you have any more questions, leave a comment. I'd be happy to help. I'm actually thinking about shooting a tutorial on how to tune and optimize your electronics. Popular boards such as the KK board and multi-Wii I'll cover. If you guys are interested, leave a comment below, and also subscribe if you want to see new tutorials. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.